Hello, Phil Simborg with interesting cube situation from the LA tournament. The score is red is leading and needs 3 points to win the match. He's 3 away, and blue is trailing at 4 away. Red is on roll. What is the proper cube action here? By the way, I was watching the end of this match, and it was by two very, very fine players. And red doubled, and blue thought for a long time and wasn't sure whether to take or drop. And this was about the only picture I took of that match because I found this position particularly interesting and the action particularly interesting because blue dropped. And I would have taken this, and I'll tell you how I approached the take, which is because there wasn't a lot of time and I wasn't the actual player. There's some very scientific ways to approach this, and we analyze this later with the players involved and some of the top players in the world at the tournament, and you can really estimate and run some numbers here. How many times does red hit blue, and after he hits them, how many of those games can you still win? When he doesn't hit them, how many games do you win? Come up with percentages, and that's really the best way to analyze it. And then, of course, you have to decide whether, after you come up with a percentage, is that over or above the take point. So you start out by having to know the take point at 3 away, 4 away, and as you can see, the live cube take point for blue here is, it says the 21.35 in extreme gamma, but it really is about 23% when you average it out to a more effective live cube take point. So then you have to ask yourself, are you over or above 23%? Well, my quick approach is to use a strategy called reverse Woolsey's law. Most of you, I'm sure, know Woolsey's law. You put if you're thinking about doubling, and if you're not sure whether your opponent should take or drop, you should go ahead and double. Well, reverse Woolsey's law is something I sort of created myself and got Kit's permission to use, and it's a little bit of the reverse of that. If you are being doubled, put yourself in your opponent's shoes and ask yourself, am I sure that it's right to double? And if the answer is I'm not sure, then for sure it's a take. Well, I really wasn't sure that red had a double here, and red thought a long time before he doubled, so that alone would have made me take the cube. Now, that's not a real scientific approach, but it's a pretty good tool over the board and works much of the time. The answer is that this is not even a double, but a very fine player dropped. A very fine player made a mistake of doubling, and I guess part of the lesson here is that we all make mistakes. I've seen much bigger mistakes than this by the best players in the world, and this qualifies as one of the real blunders. But I think that I'm not going to name names. I think that we all make them, but they can be prevented with common sense. The player that made the mistake got bogged down on the numbers, and he just simply estimated wrong. He, of course, knew that how often he gets hit. He gets hit with all threes, double one, and 2-1. So that's pretty easy. Threes is 11, and 2-1 is 13, and double one is 14 times. So he knows that he gets hit about 14 times, and then when he does get hit, he'll still win a few of those. He can come in right away with a 6, he can hit back, he can roll double sixes. So he figured that percentage right, but he got hung up on what happens if he doesn't miss and missing percentages. I think my approach is much simpler, certainly not as scientific, but probably a much more accurate approach, and you're much more likely to get the right answer if you're an intermediate player or a low open player, or even if you're a strong player. That approach certainly is another good tool for your arsenal. Phil Simborg for the USBGF, thanks for watching, and I always appreciate your feedback. Many people have told me they like these videos. Let me hear from you, or make comments on the website, and I'll do more of them. If not, I'll put other things on the website that you might find more interesting, like the quotes, cartoons, links, news. You tell me what you like. Thanks. Bye-bye.